Greetings all. Now we come to verse 49 of the Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra, which is yukti number 23 in my numbering. Hṛdyākāśe nilīnākṣaḥ padma-saṃputa-madhyagaḥ ananya-cetāḥ subhage param saubhāgyam āpnuyāt. With one's sense-faculties dissolved in the space of the heart, in the innermost recess of the lotus, with one's attention on nothing else, O blessed lady, one will obtain supreme blessedness. So we'll break down the words of this verse. Oftentimes, if there's any confusion in the existing translations, I prefer to go with a very literal translation, as in this case. So first off, there's a vocative in this verse, O blessed lady. Again, remember that this is Bhairava speaking to Bhairavi. So Shiva speaking to Parvati, right? But in their tantric identities, they're often called Bhairava and Bhairavi. And so that's why we get this vocative there, O blessed lady. I like to imagine that also the author of the text is privileging or centering female practitioners, but that might just be my preferential imagination. So then what we have, let's go to the first word of the verse, the first compound, hṛdyākāśe. Hṛdyākāśe. Said it wrong. Hṛdyākāśe, in the space in the heart. So let's remember that heart in general usage, the word hṛt or hṛdaya in general usage refers to simply the center of the torso, just the center of the body, really, or the center of the torso, or the center of the central channel. So it can often be just a general term for the center region of one's embodiment. So there's said to be a space in the heart, right? And this, of course, is not literal, but it refers to the experience of quiet presence that we can have when focusing awareness on the innermost point or centermost point of our embodiment. This is something of a divine mystery that was discovered by the yogis, that anyone can experience this profound, still silent presence by focusing inwardly into the center point of their embodiment, here called the heart. So here we're not talking about the heart chakra per se, although this center point is sort of the point from which the heart lotus sprouts, as we'll see, which is associated with the heart chakra. So I just want to emphasize that there's a deeper level here than the heart chakra itself, although the heart chakra is included in this verse. And so that's the center point known as the heart bindu. Okay, so that's hṛdyākāśe, in the space in the heart. And then we have nilīnākṣaḥ, and that means one whose senses are dissolved or interiorized. So the practitioner whose senses are pulled inward, dissolved into this center point, meaning the faculty of vision, hearing, touch, taste, smell, all of those faculties are actually focused inward towards the possibility of touching the innermost heart, tasting the innermost heart, smelling the fragrance, as it were, of the innermost heart, seeing and hearing the innermost heart, right? Even though it doesn't manifest in a sensual way, the sense energies are focused towards that possibility, we could say. Okay, so then padma-saṃpuṭa-madhyagaḥ is the next compound. Padma meaning lotus, samputa meaning two hemispheres, and madhyaga, in the middle of. So in the middle of the two hemispheres of the lotus. And here we have some ambiguity. What's going on here, these two hemispheres of the lotus in the heart? Well, one possibility is that what's being described is a partially closed, or rather not completely opened lotus, and the innermost petals are like this. And when I posted on this verse in the Facebook group, I included images that show lotuses in that configuration. Before they completely open, they're like this. And why should that be significant? Because it seems the sort of experience that's being invited here is the experience of nestling down into this protected place, one might say, and those are not words found in the verse, right? But the idea of the hemispheres being the petals that enclose this sacred place where awareness can come to rest within itself, nestle down into its own center. So another possibility of interpretation is given by Swami Lakshmanju, who says that here we're supposed to visualize, imagine, or feel two lotuses, one upward-facing lotus and one downward-facing lotus. And those are the two hemispheres mentioned in the verse. And we nestle consciousness into the center of these two lotuses, one facing up, one facing down. Now, if this is what's intended by the text, this would be an innovation that wasn't picked up by the mainstream of the tradition, because we, in general, find the image of a lotus flower in the heart, not two lotus flowers. But who knows? Lakshmanju could be perfectly correct. And regardless of which interpretation is correct in terms of the original author's intention, this obviously offers two legitimate ways that you can practice this verse, that you can do this practice. Okay? But either way, it in a sense experientially amounts to the same thing. Are we talking about these enfolding petals? Are we talking about these two lotuses like that? Okay, so we'll explore it more when we actually do the practice in a moment. So then we have ananya-cetāḥ, means one whose mind is focused on nothing else, or one whose attention or mind is focused on nothing else but this interiorization of awareness into the middle of the space of the heart. Subhage, already mentioned, O Blessed Lady. Param, saubhāgyam, supreme blessedness. Āpnuyāt, one obtains this supreme blessedness, saubhāgya. Beautiful word that's quite resonant in the tradition, became a very resonant word in the later Sri Vidya branch of the tradition. Saubhāgya means great good fortune, or total blessedness, or great auspiciousness, or sacredness. So it's the feeling that one has when one feels that however much challenge there has been in one's life, one is immeasurably blessed beyond reason. And it's said in this tradition that if you actualize, even partially, the goal of these practices, that you will experience yourself as immeasurably blessed, even if your life has been full of challenge. In fact, the tradition argues there's no degree of challenge that could overcome or negate this feeling of blessedness that one has as a result of walking this path. So that's a beautiful possibility if you don't yet experience that, just to open to the possibility that through these practices and through walking this path, you will experience supreme blessedness. the feeling that your life is blessed beyond measure and beyond reason. And that experience is, that mode of experiencing life is indeed available to us. It is our birthright. It is offered to us by this tradition. Okay, so that's the verse, word by word. Let's see if there's any questions before we move on to the practice. Okay. So begin, please, by adopting a comfortable posture. Sitting gently upright, but it doesn't matter for this practice that whether you're perfectly upright or not. It's in fact better to be more on the relaxed end of the spectrum for this practice. And taking a few deep breaths and breathing now more into the heart region than the belly. Of course, the belly expands too, but focusing the prana, the energy of the prana, in the heart region as you inhale. So it's like as you inhale, the whole torso expands, but expands from the center, from the innermost heart. Now please begin pratyahara, drawing the energy of the senses inward. So the faculty of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, all turned inward now. So eyes gently close as you turn inward. And feel into the very, very center of your being. You don't need to worry about the exact point, anatomically speaking. Just intuitively feel into the center of your being. On all levels, this is the center of your physical torso and the center of your energy body, the center of your whole embodiment. I call it the base of the heart. And now imagine, or feel if you can, that there's a configuration of energy like a lotus flower in the middle of you, in the middle of your body. A configuration of light energy that resembles a lotus flower. And the stalk of this lotus goes down to the base. And it's not fully unfolded. The petals are not fully open. So there's this space in the middle. Beautiful, protected, safe space. You imagine that you are nestling down in there, in that safe, protected space, surrounded by the petals of the lotus. And for this imagination, you don't necessarily need visual imagery, though that may come to you. With the next breath, please allow yourself to nestle down into the very center of your being and relax into the center. Please don't make this into a technique that you have to do right. Just relax into your center. What is it that's nestled down in the center? It's the focal point of your awareness, the focal point of your sense of self or being. That's what's nestled down amongst the petals. And the breath becomes very soft, very subtle. Let the center point of your awareness remain there, nestled in the depths of the lotus of the heart. Now we'll add a simple mantra, a mantra which means reverence to my heart, which is the heart of all beings. So keeping your awareness focused and settled in the depths of the heart lotus, hear the mantra and then you can repeat it along with me if you like. Om Mama Hṛdi Namaha. Om Mama Hṛdi Namaha. Om Mama Hṛdi Namaha. Om Mama Hṛdi Namaha. One more. Om Mama Hṛdi Namaha. Om. So there's another possibility of interpretation here. Because the word samputa, which I talked about before, meaning like sort of like two hemispheres, could also refer to two bija mantras that frame a mantra. This is an esoteric tantric meaning of the word samputa. So if that is indeed intended here, then we should take two bija mantras that go together and put them on either side of whatever mantra we're using in this practice. So, for example, if your mantra is Om Namah Shivaya, then you would do Om Namah Shivaya Hṛm. Or if you wanted to use that mantra we just did, reverence to my heart, it would be Om Mama Hṛdi Namaha Hṛm. Any two bijas that go together, I'm just giving the example of Om and Hṛm. So that could be what's intended. I'm not saying we can know what specific mantra was intended by the author of the verse, but if samputa refers to that practice of putting two bija mantras around a mantra, then that's how that works. Also, I should note that the very first place that the heart lotus meditation appears, surprisingly, is in the Patanjali Yoga Shastra, that is to say, the commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, the commentary attributed to Vyasa, which scholars now believe was probably written by Patanjali himself. And that is where we first see this heart lotus meditation. So it's found, I mean, it's only mentioned there, it's not explained in any way, but we see it, in other words, in the pre-tantric tradition, although this heart lotus meditation becomes much more important in the tantric tradition and indeed becomes ubiquitous in the tantric tradition. This is just one version of it, Vijñāna-bhairava-tantra's version of it. But we find the heart lotus meditation all over the place. And indeed, the image of the lotus of the heart was central for Abhinavagupta. It became central for the whole tradition. And even in chakra systems where none of the chakras are depicted as lotuses, still the heart is depicted as a lotus or a flower in those chakra systems where the other ones aren't depicted that way. So, any questions or comments or shares on that practice? So Jennifer asks, did you say that the innermost recess was the heart bindu? Yes. So in the absolute center, the singularity, as it were, that generates the whole energy body, including the heart chakra, is the heart bindu. So there's this point, this singularity at the very center that that is the murti bija, that is the seed of embodiment. And it generates the heart chakra, the heart lotus, and it also generates the whole energy body. So when we're focusing into that center point of the lotus, we're focusing into that sacred point of still silent presence, the still point at the center of the turning world, as the poet called it. And this is often called the heart bindu. Let's see if there's any other questions or comments. Could you write out the mantra just chanted? Yes, I will do that. Gerald asks, how do we know which bijas go together? Well, if you find any mantra in which there's a bija at the front and a bija at the end, then those bijas go together. You're not supposed to sort of just randomly do it yourself, you know. It's got to come from tradition. So I just gave you one possibility to work with, Om and Hṛm. And we see those bijas together, for example, in the mantra that scholar practitioner Paul Muller shares with his students, Om Hṛm Namah Shivaya. There's a bija pairing, and you can, whenever there's a bija pairing, you can take one of the bijas and put it at the end. So then you get Om Namah Shivaya Hṛm. And then it's samputa, the mantra is then enclosed and it's thought to be more powerful. And we get mantras like, you know, Om Hṛm Hum something 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 Pat, and that's also an enclosed mantra, right? Or Om Hṛm something something Swaha, again, an enclosed mantra. Okay. Nice to share this heart lotus meditation with all of you. And if you are aware of other sources for heart lotus meditation, maybe you could share those in the group on the comment thread on the post that's already there on the heart lotus meditation. Because there's many sources for different ways of doing the heart lotus meditation. And it would be cool if people share different sources that they're already aware of. Yeah. Thank you once again to all the patrons on Patreon that make these free videos and free course possible. And please continue to give your support there. And we'll see you next time. Om.